Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Coupeville School District Board of Directors regular meeting for Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Please rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now we would like to read the district land acknowledgement and the district equity statement. The district land acknowledgement statement. Coupeville schools are located on the ancestral lands of the Lower Skagit people. For thousands of years, Coast Salish tribes have stewarded these lands, waterways, plants, and animals. We pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, traditions, and culture of their people across the nation. Coupeville schools are committed to educating students, staff, and the community about this long history as we honor and acknowledge the continued presence of the Swinomish Indian tribal community and all other Indigenous peoples. The Coupeville School District Equity Statement. The Coupeville School District is unequivocally committed to providing a safe, equitable, and inclusive working and learning community for all. Whether about race, religion, language, immigration status, culture, sexual orientation, gender identity, class, ability, or a combination of these, all students deserve to be respected for who they are and acknowledged for the strengths they bring to our learning community. Thank you. Moving on to our consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda a board member wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We do not have any public comment for this evening, and we'll move on to the next item of our agenda, which is reports and communications. And I'll start with the first item under reports and communications, which is our emergency preparedness plan. I'll turn that over to Ms. Leatherwood.
So last week we discussed adopting or looking at I Love You Guys Foundation for emergency preparedness materials to ensure that we have a cohesive plan K-12. In addition, we looked into radios and ensuring that we have emergency radios for all buildings. Just an update to the board from last week's workshop is we are in the process of moving the antenna from the top of the fire station to the high school where it should be. It was a temporary position, and then getting the emergency radios so that the elementary school is on the proper channels, and then those were ordered as well. So those will be at the elementary school. The high school already had the emergency radios, and then all of the signage for I Love You Guys has been ordered through Print Shop and ESD. So we'll have that up and running for school. We'll start.
Great. Anything else? That's all. Okay.
And we discussed the emergency preparedness plan at our workshop, which took place last week, and went through the district plan, which is also trickling out to each of the individual schools. And so thank you for all the effort and energy that was put into that and ensuring safety for our schools. The next item on reports and communication is career and technical education presentation, and that is going to be Ms. Haldezos Galligan. Hi, nice to see you.
So basically, we have to provide OSPI with a compliance report every year in order to be able to get Perkins funds. And so one of the main things of the compliance report, there's several pieces to it, but the 4-year plan, it used to be a 5-year plan, now it's a 4-year plan, is something that is really important for OSPI to see what we think CTE is going to be over a period of time. So go ahead, slide there. Okay, so this was the template that was given to me, and I am sorry that I didn't use all of it.
It's okay.
I only used part of it.
It's okay.
But anyway, so go ahead, slide. So it's the strategic plan, the pillars. Go ahead. And there was a thing about quotes, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I like that. And so I chose this one. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. And I kind of feel like that about CTE. We've had a real rough go, but I feel really hopeful, and which I've been feeling. Anyway, so Aristotle. Okay, go ahead. And so the future of CTE improvement. What CTE programs should be offered? And so the problems, we're a small district. Program versus person, because that's part of being a small district. It's expensive. And so those are 3 of the things that really we are facing. And so, but there are a lot of grants out there, like I said. So there are ways to mitigate this, but these are the issues. Okay, next slide. Well, I think that's it. Okay, and go to if you can, that's it. So go to the other document before you.
It's in the board docs.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so you'll see that it's not filled out because I really wasn't sure what we were going to be doing. So, I mean, it's filled out somewhat. So I now that we have that's official, almost official, so I'm not going to say anything about it. Okay, we'll just wait for this. So the 4-year plan, I just got off the phone with Delphi. I don't know if any of you know her from OSBI. She is really, really amazing. And she sent me a revision. So I sent her some stuff, told her what was going on. She sent a revision saying, hey, this has to happen, you need to do this, and this. So I'm going to do that tomorrow and then resubmit it, but I have to show it to you first. And the board has to say, yes, submit it to OSPI. So that is, but okay, here we go.
Take the microphone. There you go.
All right. So basically, scroll down. So this is from the way that it works is that we have to provide the OSPI with last year's information. So it's year 23. So, okay, so here we are. So, these are the columns. And so you can see here, that's all the same. The goal, I put just a goal. The goal is to continue to expand community involvement with CTE. Okay, keep going. Okay, there we go. So these are our, in 23, these are our teachers. Okay. As you know, Chad Felgar left, so he's not going to be on for 24, 25, 26, 27. So that all has to change. And then it goes down to curriculum and instruction. And so basically I have to, now we have to figure out what, I have a plan, but I'm just telling you, what's going to happen or what we think is going to happen for next year, the next year, and the next year. So I have kind of an idea of how to do this after talking to Delphi. So because I told her we just lost a teacher, so I don't really know. I can't really fill all this out till I know what teacher we have and what will be taught. So she gave me just gave me some instruction on how to do that. Okay, keep going. So you see here, there's nothing there because I have to fill this in. And so basically the question is, what do I do? do I go ahead and do construction technology or not? And so, so I think I know the answer, but when I sent you this, Sherry, Chad hadn't left yet, or maybe he had, I don't know.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. Okay. So this document has several criteria. Student access to program, which is very important for CTE because we want to really encourage all students to take CTE, including life skills kids and everybody, not just, the kids that are shop rats. Okay, keep going. All right. And then that wasn't derogatory either. That's a, yeah, it is. Anyway, so I have to do all of this, keep going. So I just put same for now because I didn't really know what to do, but now that I've spoken to Delphi, I understand. Let me see. Facilities, we talked about somehow trying to expand CTE, but I think that the shop has more capability than what's been used. So, we'll see where it goes. Okay, and so criteria 8, instructional materials. I put worksite learning here. I need to expand that. That's something that we really need to do because that also is something that brings money in to the district. That's a huge component. Okay, and I think, no, how many are there? Let's see, yep, okay. Again, you see long-range planning, advisory committee, program of study. Again, a lot of this is empty because I didn't know what to do. Again, the other thing too that we have to really work on is dual credit with Skagit, and I have made some great inroads with them. And I think that, I think it'll happen. I mean, I really do think it'll happen sooner than later. And also with our job shadow. And I think, is that it? Is that the last? Nope. Okay. Career guidance, program evaluation. Yeah, professional development. So basically, it's a big document and it's part of Perkins. And if it's not, we don't get Perkins if we don't fill this out. So basically, I need to show you this, tell you this, and then you have to say, yes, Susan, fill it out, send it according to what OSPI said, and then we'll get the decision.
And I think one of the pieces that you didn't mention, but when we met, you had mentioned is we have frameworks. So frameworks that have already been approved and they're approved in advance. So it's not filling this out and going in blind. We have approved frameworks that will be based off of the teacher that's in the classroom.
Exactly.
Based on their V codes, but we also align it with what frameworks we've had approved.
Yes, true. Absolutely true. And if there is a course that we don't have a framework for, we have time to be able to do that.
Because we could
Not
offer
October
it
15th, but
second semester.
for second semester, yeah. I mean, the Teacher Academy one that we talked about that needs a professional development addendum, that I've already done. I sent that in. We'll see what happens with that. And Delphi is the one that approves that. So basically, I have to show you this and you have to say yes, send it in after you. Now I can fill this all out and I can send you a copy to, but like I said, I got my marching orders from OSPI, so I feel pretty confident about what to do.
So let me just ask you about, I mean, you're kind of giving a lot of attention to, obviously, to Chad's classes because he had so many and different pathways, but we still have the financial algebra pathway, full pathway.
It's not a pathway.
It's just a class.
It's a singleton, as they
Okay.
call it.
And then sports medicine,
Is a
pathway.
It's a pathway.
Okay, with the program. So those two we're keeping for this year. And then we're looking, is that right? And then we're looking at ag welding shop, what to do with that particular pathway. Okay.
Exactly. And, it seems like the community, when I speak to the chamber, they really feel like construction technology is really important here. It's very expensive. So, we have a big shop. I mean, and we have, so, and it's established and kids really like it. That's our client.
So as you're thinking about the program as a whole, that's what we have right now.
Mhm.
Is that where we want to be, in looking at 4 years down the road? Is there a program that we want to move toward? Have we been able to have that conversation yet to really consider, what suits our area and what we're building towards?
We broached the subject last year at the very
Mhm.
end of the year, and we haven't really had like a stakeholder to really hammer it out. Like
Mhm.
what do we want to do?
Mhm.
And so,
Our CTE advisory committee will be really important this year to help drive some of those things. So if we get community members in and they're making those recommendations, then we can consider it. But I really feel that stakeholder meeting, that advisory committee, we need to be very intentional about how we utilize that.
Mhm.
yeah. No, go.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I have to go to Greece.
Oh, there you go.
And hang out with grandkids.
Mhm.
So, okay, so do I have your permission to fill this out? I will send a copy to all of you, and then you can take a look at
Yeah,
it.
you can send the copy to me and then I'll forward it on.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and that's all I have. Any other questions?
I
What about you,
do.
Brian? No? Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I emailed you 3 days ago.
And Allison, oh,
Yeah, Susan, as you're working on this, Susan, sorry.
Yes.
Hello, hello.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Allison.
As you're working on it, I just wanted to point out that I don't think we have middle school robotics. We haven't last year, and we don't going forward.
Oh,
It's something we'd love to
Thank you.
have. It would really support our robotics team.
Okay.
We don't at the
You know,
moment.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because we talked about that the other day. And so that was on there. It was also, there was something else on there too, but
I
I
had
can.
brought it up as a piece. That's when we were
Oh,
talking.
right. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. But we can leave it in there as a wish possibly
Yeah,
or something
for the
like
future
that
years,
for the future.
part of those
and
pathways. Yeah.
This is a roadmap. It doesn't mean that we have to follow this it's like a budget. And so, but it's something that OSPI demands. So we have to do it.
Thank you so much for doing all that work.
Oh, you're so welcome.
thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to our next report and communication, which is our administrator report. And this is highlighting one of the pillars of our strategic plan this month, which is connecting with family and community, which is always fitting as we're going back to school. So I'll turn that over to Ms. Leatherwood to introduce our presenters.
Absolutely. So we have our elementary school open house tonight. So filling in for Dave and also for her department. Allison's going to come up and share on those. And then we're going to follow that with Jeff on his plan.
While Will is pulling that up, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to share what we do with our families and community. It's really important to make sure that we continue to stay connected so every student can reach their potential. So we're really excited about doing this. It's one of my personal favorite things to do is to work with our community. We're starting with Dave. Next slide is just highlighting our vision and mission. Great. And then the slide after that is really just talking about tonight. The focus is on connect. These are the players, the who's who in the zoo kind of situation. You got Mr. Eversole, who's the principal, Ms. Littlefield, your counselor, and your Ms. LaRue and some principal candidate are your admin secretaries and student service secretaries. They work on a daily basis to field all sorts of questions and clarifications. And anytime a student needs to come down to the office or they have an appointment, they're getting picked up, things like that, they're always available to field questions from families, but also serve the families with whatever they need. And then if they don't know who what the answers are in terms of getting them connected to the correct teacher or whoever it needs to be. They're really amazing at that. The next one, please. So Mr. Ebersol focused on criterion 7. So we have 8 criteria for the state 8 when we're talking about evaluations for teachers. So criteria 7 is all about engaging families and communities. So he kind of looked at this in that realm. So there's 3 different components to criterion 7. The first one, if you could please.
And just a correction real quick, is it's the Association of Washington School Principals evaluation that he
Oh,
tied it to,
Not the teachers one,
not the teacher one.
Thank you, appreciate that. So the first one is communicating through multiple channels that parents are encouraged to initiate contact at any time. It's actually a clickable link for a s'mores that went out on the newsletter for elementary just a week or so ago. And they always have the bulletin that's available and up to date. There is a Facebook and an Instagram page, both for the elementary school. They have a Remind app. And the great thing about the Remind app is it's focused on one classroom, or you could have multiple teachers in a particular classroom, and it translates to whatever language the family needs. So that's really encouraging, and make sure that all of our families can connect to the teacher, but also the teacher can connect back to them without having to give out like personal cell phone numbers and things like that. But it does work for both the computer and cell phone. It just doesn't give that identifiable information back and forth. And they also have the parent pickup patrol, which is new last year. Is that correct, Mr. Last year or the year before? Year before. So this is a way that parents can go online and say, this is how my child is typically going to be picked up. And then if there's any changes, they can go through the app, which is more up to date and immediate. And then we can get the student to where they need to be based on what the parent has requested. So it's into the 21st century. It's very exciting. So 7.2 incorporates strategies that engage all families, particularly those that historically have been underserved. So there's a couple of examples there of how documents have been translated, including the Remind, as I mentioned. Cumulative messages, parent bulletin, and the s'mores newsletters, again, can come into any language that the family requests on their end. Individual meetings for new enrollment. There's pre-K transitional meetings and school tours, and there's also the transition to kinder and kindergarten walk kids parent meetings. That's coming up just this next week. As you recall, our kindergarten typically starts on the Friday of the first week of school, and now our TK will also start on the Friday of the first week of school. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all reserved as walk kids days so that parents can make appointments with the teachers and they can go through the questions that are provided and go through the scales and ratings that are appropriate that allows them to share what hopes and dreams and concerns they have for their child, as well as ask the teacher whatever questions they have. We've got multilingual staff engaging in parent-teacher conferences, and we also have the language line that we can call when we're having trouble getting a particular translation. So we've got lots of different ways, including ASL, that we can help with our families with communication. And then I'll talk a lot more about the student and family support services, but at the elementary specifically, they've got a school counselor who's amazing to work with. She's also bilingual. We've got a district social worker, and she's actually at all of our buildings throughout all of the days. We've got a school interventionist, military family life counselor. The Boys and Girls Club works closely, and the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we're always looking for volunteers from those different groups to come in and work with our students. So that's exciting. This one, he'd like to know that you put in a GIF just for you guys. That's
Nice job,
Dang.
Dave.
there you go. So 7.3 engages with communities to promote learning. So these are all of the different organizations, and I'm not going to go through and read every single one to you, but these are all the different committees and or community resources that the elementary school works with on a regular basis to make sure that our students, families, and communities are all interconnected, because we know that that's really important for our students to be successful, is to have this well-rounded opportunity and having lots of people in their lives who can continue to help them grow and bloom. Questions about the elementary that I may or may not be able to answer? Got more important people here who can answer them too. No?
Nope. Thank you so much.
Well, we're gonna switch over to special services department. As Mr. Smith is pulling up this next one, I wanted to highlight the TK, which is a little bit of Dave and a little bit of me, so it's not really in either one in particular as much, but I wanted to let you know that we've got a full class starting the year. It's very exciting. We actually have a wait list started for students coming in. So we've met with all the families, and The families are at the back to school night tonight, and they're already signed up for the Walk Kids meetings next week, and it's going to be a really great start. So I'm really excited about the progress that we've got with that class. The classroom is set up and looks both adorable and delightful, and we've already got curriculum and everything, which we got through a grant through OSPI. So it's really great, and I'm excited about this program. It's going to be great for our district, but also great for kids. Okay, so the special services department up there. So I've got 5 different categories that we'll talk to you about tonight. We're going to start with students with disabilities, move on to highly capable, go into our MLL students, and then additional student service resources, and then finally get to the community opportunities that we have current. So starting with students with disabilities, I broke this into 2 different parts. So there's general communication on the top, and then specifically for IEP and 504 meetings on the bottom. I think this is one of the favorite parts that I have of my job, is to make sure that all decisions are made as a team. We want to make sure that we're involving families, and even when we have adult age students, they can choose to invite their families if they want to come to the meetings and make sure that everyone's on the same page. We're very aware of making sure that students are part of their goals, because we know that when students are part of their goals, they're going to have more buy-in and drive to complete their goals, and we're there to support them along the way. So we are we also have notices of safeguards and procedures in the native language in all of our emails for my staff, as well as on hard copy. And we support families with filling out paperwork for like DVR, pre-eds, DDA paperwork. All of that paperwork can be very intimidating. And so I've made sure that I've got staff who are trained in that. And anytime I have a family who is not sure about what that means for their soon to be adult age student who has a significant disability, we can help them with the paperwork to make sure that they can take care of those kinds of components and feel confident with as they move forward with it. Same thing, 504 and IEP meetings. We've worked hard to make sure that our 504 meetings are being held at an earlier time in the year. And then as students come in, we can always have more meetings. But we want to make sure that the accommodations that are put in place are going to benefit the student throughout the year. So I'm excited about that update that we've made in our district at both the elementary and the middle and the high school. And at any time in both of those, in both IEPs and 504s, any person can call a meeting at any time. And we really make sure that families realize that they are part of the team and their student is the most important part of the team for all of those meetings. So we really make sure that we keep it student focused, and we're very cognizant about the choices that we make about when we're scheduling times. Is it going to be an in-person meeting or is it a remote meeting? What works for them so that they can be as involved as possible. So our highly capable, we do have a steering committee that met a lot 2 years ago, a little bit last year, and I'm hoping to kind of re-up it again this year. We went several years ago from having, I think there was 4 students, a very small number for our district, and every single year we have grown, and the way we have grown is by increasing our screenings. We now do 2 full grade level screenings at 2nd and then 5th grade. And then based on those screenings, we do further assessment. And then based on the assessment, a student can qualify either under language, ELA, math, or nonverbal reasoning. And so then the student is given a goal based on communication with the teacher and the family. And then we work on that goal throughout the year in the gen ed setting. They also have additional opportunities at the elementary school. We have before school programs for families who are able to bring their student to come and be part of their high cap group. And they get to do, and then we also have during the day opportunity during tutorial for our middle and high school students. The point of those is to have like personal projects that they can continue to grow in something that's interesting to them, and also potentially a community impact so that they can do something beneficial for the community. And they have to work together as a team, which is always kind of fun to watch kids who have very different viewpoints, and we're having them work together in the same common goal. That's kind of fun. And then after that is multilingual learners. We have a new, slide please. We have a new class at the middle high school this year, and it's going to be focused for our kids who need some extra language support. So I'm really excited about what that's going to do. And we continue to offer evening classes for families who would like to participate. I already mentioned about the interpretation services. We communicate about the WIDA scores, which is the state assessment for students who are multilingual learners, which we do screeners at the beginning of the year whenever a student enters. And then we also do a full-blown, the actual assessment in the winter, springtime. And this year we held a summer academy at the elementary school that was really geared for kids who needed extra support, specifically in English and ELA. So that was really cool. It's the first time we've had like a real summer school at the elementary in a while. So that's great that that was available. Next, we have additional student service resources. This is a lot of what Ariana does. And so I put a flyer of the event that we just finished. It was a Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. But in December, we'll have the winter wear. We will get donated clothes and scarves and hats and those kinds of things. I think there's also books and holiday houses also in December. There's going to be an event in April called the Family Substance Awareness Event. And then in May, there's the annual community resource and career fair. So again, lots of opportunities that our families can connect with us and different opportunities that we can provide to them. And lastly, additional community opportunities. This is a flyer for an event that's coming up on October 8th. It's the Resource and Transition Fair. This is a huge one for folks with disabilities. We actually are hosting it, but it's run through Mike Etzel and a lot of different organizations. And we bring in, I think there was like 30 different community resources that came in last year, and everyone has a booth. And then we also hold presentations for folks about how to deal with banking with your adult age student or those kinds of things. So this is really a great opportunity. And we had people coming from Oak Harbor to various islands around here. We had people off island. It was a great turnout. It was about 100 people last year. And dinners provided. And this year, Mike Etzel's organization has offered to pay for it. So that's terrific. We also work with our local schools, ESID and STEPS, which used to be the Toddler Learning Center, who have students who are birth to age 3 who might have a disability. And we're working with them because the expectation on us is to have an IEP in place on the child's 3rd birthday. So we work with a lot of different organizations and whatnot. And we have lots of pre-employment opportunities for our students in our RISE program, which is 18 to now 22. So we're working with the community all over to make sure that kids are having their needs met. That was a lot. I apologize. What questions do you have? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Call me loud, Will. Good evening. What a week to have teachers coming back and looking outside and seeing the seniors start painting. In school's getting close, they got to hurry up and get those parking spots just before the deadline of the first day of school, which starts a tradition for them of waiting to the last minute to meet a deadline for anything for the seniors. I guess going after the elementary and special services, there's a bonus and a positive and a negative. The positive is it's a little easier to follow Allison than it is to follow Susan. But the negative is I could kind of say me too for pretty much what she just covered, is these things go from elementary school up through the high school. So, Will, I think it's the 3rd slide. I do have the pillars there. We have a couple different ways that we want to reach out to, that we focus obviously on communicating with the community and families. Go ahead. And a big one that we should highlight is that there are going to be changes to the CTE program. And I have a lot of faith in the thoughts of us increasing our community connections through that program at both the middle school and the high school. Going through interviews and hearing the excitement of individuals who want to be a part of this program, who want to grow it as fast as they can and to the best of their ability, is exciting as administrators, as Eric and I were able to sit and listen. Susan was able to interview with us also on part of the panel. Go ahead. You can go to the next one. Erica's idea here, and I will give her credit for that, was to put some leadership frameworks that we are evaluated as school leaders. And she said, well, why don't we just throw that on there? And Dave loved that idea, and he put it up there too. And it was when we looked at an effective school leader recognizes and capitalizes on the potential that families and communities can have on student achievement. I think it's especially applicable here in a community like this. Last year, I recall that it was the day after our open house, and I was able to brag. I have notes from last year even that says open house. Wow, that was my note from last year. This year it was the same way, to have our building full of kids and parents excited, upcoming 6th graders, the new crop of middle school students who are so excited and so nervous that they look at their schedule and they have no idea what it means or where they need to go. And it's so fun to be able to show them that. That's one of those events that when we bring them all in, and me kind of being able to show a future or a new administrator here just how family it is, and how not only do you know the older siblings, but you know the parents, you know how they're connected to each other. And it's a lot of fun, that experience. So the first way that we want to communicate with them is for us to reach out to them, usually through technology. We've already sent our family welcome letter to the school year, and then we've talked about what we wanted to increase as far as communication home. We're going to maintain the daily announcements that we're going to scan those and send them home. It goes to the students, and it also helps us with the communication, because they will email or come to the office and say, I thought I heard something. What was it? That's pretty much word for word what we're going to read in every morning. We have, of course, the official middle school and high school Facebook pages, and then Allison knows a little bit about the middle and high school parent Facebook page. And it's interesting that some parents are more comfortable asking it in a more informal environment. And I've actually seen it a few times. I get alerts when it's posted. I'm like, I know the answer, but I'm not going to. Does my school do a good job communicating what the answer is? Is it going to be a staff member or another parent that's going to answer? And it's interesting to see who comes through and answers. If it goes for a little bit unanswered, I go ahead and usually I direct message somebody and just say, here's the answer to that one. But the staff members that are on that page really are eager to help answer those questions, and parents seem more willing to post it because it is an informal page. I do send those morning announcements to Ariane all the time, who makes sure that she gets those through a translator. And of course, the SMORE newsletters can be translated also, to make sure that we are getting any underserved or monolingual families at home, that they can read what's going on in their child's school. At our open house, we had a number of community organizations there. We had Island Transit, Snowball Libraries, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, who have just transferred over to a new coordinator for that. And it was great to see in the comments that our families were able to meet all of these different people that are responsible for these resources. Those components, we reach out to them, we fill their email inboxes or their social media or whatever it is, but we also want to bring as many families into our school as we can. And I jotted these down again, just looking at how many opportunities we have, starting last spring with the Welcome to Middle School Parent Night. Then we have the Welcome to High School Parent Night transition, our open house, of course, our fall and spring parent teacher conferences, financial aid night, dual credit opportunity night, scholarships, high school graduation, 8th grade passages, concerts, theater productions, athletic events, where we bring the community into our school as often as possible. And I'm very proud, I think, that families feel comfortable coming into our building. They feel comfortable that they know that they're going to be welcomed, they're going to be greeted, and they're going to be, whatever their questions or concerns may be, they're going to be treated as an important part of the overall system of Coupeville. Any questions? Thank you.
All right. I just would like to wrap up kind of at the district level. So just as we've been looking at communication at all of the schools, we've also put together district communication to the community and also staff. And those are both biweekly. And as of today, we have 28 people requesting newsletters beyond just our families, but the word's getting out to our community. And so we've added them on. Just the very first newsletter that went out to the community had over 900 views. And so that's amazing. And then our second one is just it's at 740, but typically the weekend before, we're going to see that rise quite a bit. So I think it will probably surpass the 900 level, but we're very excited. SMORE is a great tool because it does translate in so many languages. And then it also, it keeps the data so that we can look at the data and is this a good tool for us? Shelly and I were talking about, I think she emailed me like 10 minutes after hers went out, and oh my gosh, how many views she already got. And so it's just a neat tool for our community and our families, and they can always refer back to it, which is really nice.
Thank you all so much. I know that thank you. Our communities and our family appreciate the communication, and it is what's so great about Coupeville, and that intimacy and getting to know each other and having that face-to-face time. And so thank you all for touching on that and how important it is for communication. So thanks. Moving on to our business manager report, Mr. Gianello. So nice to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So pulls that up, following the same communication pattern here. We have this summarized for you in a PowerPoint presentation. This is going to be the new format we'll be using. So you can go to the next slide. Again, we're going to continue to manage resources effectively and continue to look for better ways to track and report on our financial position. You can go to the next slide.
Next slide.
Next one again. Yeah, there's a little click in there. Sorry. There's a little click that highlighted that part. So this is the fiscal summary. Again, this is going to be, even though we're in August, July financials. We get the county treasurer reports, and we're going to reconcile for July for the most part. So go ahead, next slide. And here it is. This is for all the funds there down the left-hand side. It shows their cash balance and their total fund balance. I can say for July, kind of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. We have, adequate for general fund, adequate cash and fund balance. Part of that's due to apportionment. Remember, July and August we receive the highest amount of revenue from state apportionment. So that is why we have more adequate cash and fund balances. The only other thing to note, we talked about this a little bit with Shannon today, is the transportation fund. Oh my gosh, it's a little lower than we thought. Well, that's because not until August apportionment do we get that depreciation payment. The state did release the August apportionment like a day or two ago. So I did confirm we did get the depreciation payment of $179,000 roughly. So we do have enough to purchase a bus, but we'll report more on that next month when you see the August financials. Otherwise, you can go ahead to the next slide. This now summarizes no changes here, really, for the most part. The state E223 was having some issues when I pulled down the final numbers, but they're going to really be close. The takeaway here is our student count was roughly 15 over. Our actual amount was 15 over what we budgeted for, which is good. Then also just a note, there is some other financial information out there posted on the website in terms of the fund balance and cash basis, budget status reports, card transaction detail reports out there. And I didn't print out this time. I think I'll save it for August meeting of the cash flow, a large one. I think you'll be more interested once August hits, because it's the end of the year. So I'll print you out one of those in August. But you can take a look. That has been updated with more of the cash balances and projections that we're looking at for July and August. The next slide. Again, kind of mentioned this already. For the most part, for the July financials, adequate balances. Grant claims were the other big thing that wrapped up all the June ending grants. I can say we're fully claimed. No money left on the table there, which is good. And we're continuing in the grant world to track reports, continue to monitor the grants. The next big hurdle is sort of those August 31st ending grants. You still have some months after August to make final claims. So that's kind of the next focus there. And of course, July, as you know, was a big budget month. So next slide. Some August highlights that I'll give you that we'll talk probably more about in August, but we did repay, did send this over to the county because we're in August, the short-term interfund loan back to capital projects. Remember, we borrowed that $300,000. So we did pay that back in August because I can confirm, I waited because I wanted to confirm we did receive safety net on the August apportionment statement. So that's good news. And also the side note for capital projects funds, the cash balance on those other reports you see are pretty high because we have collected right now with the levies, the way they run. That's probably the highest amount that we'll have in that capital projects fund. We have been investing some of that. I mean, it's a small amount that you really get, but it's every little bit helps. So since we have investments in the capital projects fund earning a little bit of interest, so we did have some CP bills or invoices come due. So we did send a notice over to uninvest funds so we could cover the warrants. But we'll continue to do that. Again, trying to make a little bit of interest anywhere we can. Okay, next slide. I think that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much. The next item on reports and communication is our superintendent report.
Great, thank you. So I will tell you, putting out a superintendent report for board docs a week early is really difficult when it's the back to school week with teachers. So mine just, it's very vague on the slides, but I will tell you, this week has been amazing. We really dug into the science of hope with all staff members on Tuesday. The science of hope has a lot of research behind it, and it really helps both staff members and students to really think in that positive, and it helps with mental health and beyond. And so I have received about 15 to 20 teachers who have reached out after hearing that presentation, and the number of connections that they've had to hope in general has been really well received. And just being able to tie it to, I know my thought used to be that hope is something that, you know, you feel or you don't feel. But knowing that hope can be taught and how we can teach it has been a huge difference maker. On the second day with teachers, we talked about gratefulness and how to be grateful. That really ties to hope, and how to be specific with that. Teachers were very invested that day. We did an exercise where teachers wrote a letter to themselves as a first-year teacher. And that exercise is really to reflect on, if I had to think about it, and I know you wrote one and talked about it. If I had to reflect on it, you know, what would I write to myself now? What do I need to know? What would I want to know as a first year teacher? And there was a lot of reflection in the room. And again, I felt really good about the investment and the care that all of our teachers put in. It just rejuvenated myself to say, we're going to have a great year, and our teachers and our staff are fully invested. Sorry, I'm on slide 4. I'm just talking. And so, you know, this really ties to the state criteria, where we need to provide staff with 7.5 hours of training on social emotional learning. That's part of why we get the professional learning days from the state and the paid days for that. And so being able to put that piece in place and tie social emotional learning to hope, to gratefulness, and then the third piece of that is universal design for learning. And so there was a self-paced module for staff to take additional credits for that piece. Some of our principals did do a social emotional piece with staff, and so it was a choice. And you'll learn more about universal design for learning, but one of the key components of that is to have choice. And so providing students with choice on how they show what they're learning is just as important for our students as it is for our staff. And so that providing choice was what we did this year. And then I already talked about the family and community piece in the other one. So I'm very excited. I'm excited about the statistics that we're getting back from SMORE, and I'm looking for a great year.
Thank you. Thank you for
Welcome.
inviting us to the back to school session.
And I do have to say, you all did an amazing job with what you said, and just really investing in that. So thank you all for coming. It's great.
It was good to see all the faces, and I know that we feel that hope too, and we've talked about it at retreat and at different times, and so just grateful for the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to board member report. Start down at the end with you, Director Merwine, if you have anything.
Well, I wanted to give a shout out. I went to the school supplies event in Ariana to deliver a $3,000 check from the class of 1974 for the school supplies. And I was really impressed with what was going on. I mean, I took a few pictures. Our president was there to present the check and whatnot, but I was really well organized, and I was surprised there was a lot of parents there without children. Parents were coming. They had the school list there. So you could see what second graders needed, and then you could go around the room and pretty much fill the list. I was particularly impressed. There was a whole bin of new calculators, which I know are a big expense there. Yet Ariana was able to provide those.
Great.
Good. I was really proud of the district for putting something like that on. I see other districts trying to raise money for those kind of things. We were right there.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm not sure that I have anything to report. I did submit some community resources that went out during the middle and high school open house, and it was really well supported by the staff, and kind of like a lot of really good information.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit after having a summer and not doing very much on our budget and finance committee, and reaching out to Allison, and I'm going to be meeting with Chick and just kind of reviewing again our charge and looking at financial reports and how we might want to tweak those up a little bit, and be working towards bringing something to talk to Shannon and Brian about it, and bringing it back to the board for your input. What we might do. I've been looking at other schools and what they're doing, and being sensitive to your concerns. There's a limit of how much finance stuff you want to hear about, but making sure we get the information. So that's what I report about that. But as long as I got the mic, I just want to again say that Shannon, I am just so impressed with that first day. It was inspiring for everybody in the room, and not just in school, but in other aspects of our country right now. There's a lot of hope, and it just feels good to just be bubbling over and feeling that way. And it must have been a great day yesterday as well. So thank you very much for doing all of that. And Chick, I wanted to thank you. I was really tickled that you, when we were doing our introductions, that you took the time to talk about the 50-year reunion of the class of 1974, and they're recognizing two of their teachers, Jim and Linda Hosick. That's the second time that's happened this year. Richard Cook also had met with some of his classmates and did something like that, where they wanted to honor the teachers that made a difference for them. I was really appreciative that you had brought that up and let people know about that, because our current teachers need to know that you may not always realize it, but 50 years later, people are still singing your praises. That was really cool. And I love that because I was in Jim's first class.
Oh, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Really? Yeah.
And he and Linda made a big, they were just special people that came into our school community.
So when I asked for people that had been to their 50th reunion, I didn't look over there. Raise your hand on the.
We haven't had our 50th reunion
Oh.
yet. It happened during COVID, and
Oh.
everybody's looking to me to organize it.
Well, your house is the coolest. I don't blame. Thank you so much. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Just a great time to be a part of Coupeville School District.
Yeah. I just want to say welcome back to our staff and to our students who are coming very soon. It was a joy to see everyone's faces and just to hear the excitement going into the year, and just thinking about the impact and the lasting impact that the people that work here can have and will have was just really encouraging. So I would also like to extend my thanks to our unions, to CESA and to CEA, and to the district bargaining team for working together mutually to reach a civil and respectable agreement, which is going to take us into the school year. Those are one-year agreements. We'll be back at it again next year, but I really appreciate the work and the collaboration in figuring out how we can best serve our students. So thank you. I also wanted to point out that we are still accepting applications for this open chair right here, this very one. If you are interested, the application is available on the website. The applications are going to close on September 12th. This also may require recruiting. If you know someone who lives on the south end of the island in the particular District 3, you may encourage them to apply. And interviews for that will take place at our workshop in September, which is September 19th. And if you have questions about being a board member, you're welcome to reach out to any of the current board members or to Miss Leatherwood if you have questions. We are happy to talk, always happy to talk. And that concludes my report. Thank you. Any questions for any of the? No? Okay. Awesome. We didn't have any correspondence in our this month, so there's none on the agenda. And we currently have no old business, but we do have some new business. So we'll jump right into that. The first item on new business is approval of the 24-25 board goals. So we initially began the conversation of board goals at our retreat, and then we again had a little further conversation at our workshop about our board goals last week, which was a little tricky because I couldn't see your faces and I was remote. And we kind of settled on some big ideas for the goals, which was really working through revising some of the phases of the strategic plan, working on focusing and learning about data, the data that we want to measure, and what we're hoping to look at in the future as we look at ways that we can improve student achievement. And then thanks for that. And then our last one was, yeah.
Budget and finance?
Yes. No, it was another one. I'm having a brain lapse.
Can you zoom in?
Governance. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Governance. And so the conversation around really putting some kind of better practices in place in how we go about working on our budget, what our plan is, not just in the month of July or in June, but really throughout the year. Really, what is our approach to policies and things that we want to look at, and how we're establishing standards, within our school district and getting input on those. And so what type of governance we're providing. And these fit within three, and really there's 5 standards for school directors that we try to focus our work on and our energy on. Now, Chick did not want to give more time to budget, but I did hear kind of some conflicting focus on that. And we do definitely, even though that might not consume our attention, we do want to increase our fund balance. We know that that's a need that we have going forward if all of the other things are going to work well. And so I did add that on there. Now you may hate that, Chick. It's open for discussion. I did add that on there just because I do think we know that rebuilding our fund balance is a focus, an area that we want to give attention to. So I attempted to put these together into written words. Now that's open for discussion, conversation, or changes. But yeah,
I think last week we talked a little bit about this still sort of being a work in progress.
Mhm.
This isn't set in stone. This
Yep.
is kind of a guiding star and an ongoing conversation about what actions are we going to take to move in these directions. And these are great directions to move toward.
I think too, if we modeled the process that Shannon's got in place now for reporting on these things or discussing them on a regular basis, keep it in the forefront so that we can look at one and say, hey, we've done this so far. What workers are yet to do? I think just the same process, those systems that you're doing, we could use. And of course, as our leader, you'll be making us do that anyway.
Yes.
Well, no,
Thank you. I'll help you.
a lot of our work is setting direction to work with the superintendent to achieve, the actual work. I mean, we just kind of set the vision. And so a lot of those are working in collaboration with, supporting the superintendent and working with the superintendent, because that is what we do. So if there's no changes, we'll kind of take this as our direction and we'll take a motion.
Shall I move to approve the board goals?
Second.
Great. I was like, I need to be specific.
Okay,
We
so
got it.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the 24-25 board goals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, I forgot to offer you some debate on that motion, but okay. And then we'll jump into superintendent goals.
So, ironically, last week when we talked about superintendent goals, We were looking at standard 1, 3, and 7 for superintendent, which ironically aligned really well with the goals that the school board had also picked. Standard 1 is really around the mission, vision, and core values. And so the goal, particularly in this area, is to continuously refine and implement the district strategic plan to ensure ongoing alignment with the mission, vision, and evolving needs. And particularly on this goal, there's work to be done with the strategic plan. My understanding is there was a lot of input with the pillars and the mission and vision, but when we got to the tasks, that's really what we want to bring the committee back together and dig into and ensure that happens. And then standard 3 is around curriculum instruction and assessment to foster a culture of continuous improvement focused on student learning. That is my passion. That is who I am inside and out. I know that our staff this week saw that instructionally, that is my passion. And I really want to bring that into the forefront, show it in our budget, make sure that students are the center of everything that we do, and ensure it also ties to our strategic plan. And then finally, operations and management. This is that fiscal part. We need to get to that 6%. We need to be able to pay our bills on a monthly basis and have our cash flow from month to month. So this one is managing fiscal resources strategically to support instructional and district goals. So that leads to, if we have a budget that we can truly look at and draft, its focus is on student learning. And so I would like to see our budget reflect that. And until we get to that 6%, it'll be a work in progress, but that's my goal for standard 7. I did put the pillars over there as well as a visual, just because that is the center of the work on all 3.
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciated that you refined the goals, and I think it fits well, as we begin to look at data and how we begin to work on improvement. We have to know where we're starting from. And so I think it all fits together with a really clear vision going forward for the year of the work that had. Any questions, comments? I'll take a.
I was really happy to see these goals be really concise and compared to some of the drafts we looked at. And I thought, oh, this is really good to have. And then for standard 7, I want the board to have to do less work because the superintendent's got the job down here at goal 7. So that's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you, Jay. I hear you. Go ahead.
I like the conciseness as well, and they're very measurable. And I'm going to be appreciating as we go through the year, seeing the actual accomplishment in writing here. I've mentioned this to Shannon and a couple other people. We are so in peril. We've got such parallel goals here. I really think next year I'd like us to consider doing joint goals. That these are just the administrative or because they're the same. And as you just said, we can't do anything. We're just looking if we're doing those things or fostering the environment for them to occur. And I think that we measure ourselves, all of us, by our accomplishment, that setting the goals and monitoring the progress. If she's successful, we are successful. Just an idea to think of for next year.
Yeah, we definitely work as a team. But I also really like the fact that we're establishing this idea that each and every one of us can work on self-improvement in the role that we do have. So there are, standards as a board that we're aiming towards. So I love the fact that they match. That's for sure. And I agree that we should definitely continue to have this as a joint conversation when we form these goals. So work well.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take a motion.
Move to approve the proposed 2024-25 superintendent goals as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 24-25 superintendent goals. Is there any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Right. And next item on the agenda is approval of the board calendar. And this basically just outlines our meetings, regular meetings and workshop meetings for the calendar year. Any questions or comments?
I did have a question. I seem to remember that there was some conversation around the December meeting, which obviously has to move from the end of the month. But for some reason, I was expecting it to be the week before break. Was there a conflict or something? I think,
Yeah, there was, and I can't remember what it was.
yeah,
Ooh, let me see if I can look.
I will not be able to make the 12th.
Okay.
There will be a quorum because we will have another member.
I think it was a different date that there was a conflict that we had. Oh, I know what it was. June 26th. No, June 12th. We had to move the workshop to the 12th because it was on Juneteenth.
So that's a June. But the December one, I'm not sure why we got so early because that one's on the 12th. That one's on December 12th. And it could be the 19th. Is that the one you were thinking of?
That's the one I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure why we did that. I
Do you want
think,
to make that change?
yeah, I think we could do that.
I
The
would be
June
happy
one, yeah, we
to-
moved
yeah.
because of Juneteenth, but
I'd be happy to move that amendment as long as nobody can remember a really good reason for it to.
yeah, I think let's do that.
I would move. Well, I guess as it hasn't even been brought up as a motion yet. So should we
Right.
just make that a friendly amendment?
Mhm.
Strike it before it even gets.
You can just
To the rest of
move
us.
it as amended.
There you go. I
Or
would
however you
move to approve the board meeting schedule with the amendment of changing December 12th to December 19th.
No, second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board calendar schedule for 24-25 with the December 12th meeting changed to December 19th. Is there any debate? Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And moving on in our agenda is the election of the legislative representative. Now, typically nominations for this position are held during our annual organizational meeting in December, but because of the resignation of Director Fay, the legislative representative position is now open. The legislative rep position serves a 2-year term, and per our policy, elections for this position happen in odd number years. So whomever is elected for this position tonight will serve until the annual organizational meeting in 2025. So at this time, I would like to call for nominations for the WASDA legislative representative to serve for the ensuing year.
I nominate Chick Merwine to be our legislative representative.
And Director Merwine, do you accept that nomination?
I'd accept the nomination.
Thanks. Is there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, at this time we'll take a roll call vote. So please respond with a yes or no for your vote. Director Merwine, you get to vote.
Yes.
Director Pereira,
Yes.
Director Connard,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you. Congratulations. We appreciate your work, and I expect that you will be receiving an email tomorrow about
Okay.
some future projects. So
General
thank you so much.
Assembly's coming up fast.
Next item on new business is approval of the Coupeville Education Association collective bargaining agreement, which will begin September 1st, 2024 and continue to August 31st, 2025. Do you want to speak about that at all?
So so what is in the public docs right now is just a draft. But we worked today to upload most of the edits. I know that both presidents from the 2 different units are looking it over, and we're going to continue to do that before it's printed and done. Some of the main highlights There was language changes that we really worked hard on. But I would say probably the number one thing that we did with our teachers union was to work on discipline and behaviors. And I'm really excited about the work that we did and the collaborative work around what the future is going to bring for Coupeville as far as having a cohesive plan that is district wide for student behaviors so that we're in that proactive mode instead of a reactive mode with that. So I would say that's the biggest highlight, I think, and took a lot of work and dedication and thinking, but I really was excited about what we came up with.
Thank you. We take a motion?
Straight to a motion.
Go ahead.
I just have, so both these contracts have been approved by the membership,
They were ratified on Tuesday for both groups.
but
Yes.
they had a draft also.
Yes. So
Okay.
what happens on these is we TA the language. And so it's in a separate document that's TA'd. Then the lawyers take that and they mesh it with the contract. But because it was on Tuesday, the ratifications, I just got the lawyers who sent me the drafts this morning and they were not ready to publish yet. So we found the CESA contract had one piece missing from it still. And then Katya and I were looking at, there was the definitions that got left off. So they're minor tweaks, but yes, they were able to go through the TA document. So the membership voted on what the actual language was, even though it's not in the final draft yet. So
I think this is a little bit different year when we have a new administrator working this process and two contracts open at the same time. I'm not crazy about not having the final draft right now, but I felt really comfortable in the sessions that I sat in that our legal representatives that took copious notes and had information that you could look at historically. If 2 years from now somebody says, "Are you sure that's what we meant?" And they have context that would help us interpret that. So having said that, I would move to approve the CEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Coupeville Education Association collective bargaining agreement for September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025. Is there any debate?
One more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the reasons I'm willing to vote under these circumstances, I'm not against anything that's done, but I really like the idea of us having our contract in place on the first day of school. Means something to me.
Hearing no further debate, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again for your collaborative efforts on both of these contracts. The next item for new business is approval of the Coupeville Education Support Collective Bargaining Agreement for September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025.
yeah. So again, I really feel there was a really collaborative effort to look at all the language in the contract and come up with an agreement where we had definitions that were in place, but also just clarity on some areas. I also liked at the end where we were like, hey, can we just align with CEA? Actually, this came from CESA on the FMLA because that's a piece that anytime we can align for our staff members, it's really great. So that was an additional piece, and adding in language for positions that we haven't previously had. And so coming into agreement with that, but it was very collaborative and a really great process. Nancy was there as an observer, and I appreciate her being there. And again, I appreciate that both units and Nick Lowry. It was my first time meeting him. It was a great experience.
Thank you. I knew I was missing a word. It's Coupeville Education Support Association, but it's not in the, sorry about that. It's not in the, on the agenda here. Take a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll move to approve the Coupeville Education Association. What you said, CSA collective bargaining agreement for September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Coupeville Education Support Association collective bargaining agreement for September 1st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025. Is there any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again so much and happy back to school. Our meeting is adjourned.